Greetings and Talapalava. We welcome you to another session of Talanoa. We'd like to thank you for allowing us to enter into your home through this virtual feed.
As many of you know, Talanoa is a Pasifika cultural method that means to have dialogue. When broken down, the word tala means story and the word noa means to tie. It is through Talanoa that we look to tie our stories together in order to have a clear understanding about topics that impact our cutie pie as well as the greater queer, trans, black, indigenous, and people of color community.
Before we begin, Utopia Washington continues to recognize that we as diasporic indigenous people pool resources and reside on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people, the Duwamish, Muckleshoot, and Puyallup tribes.
It is important to understand the long-standing history that has brought us and other settlers, colonizers, and indigenous peoples to reside on these lands, and to seek an analysis and continue understanding of our place within that history and present being.
Land recognition does not reside in the past tense or historical context. Colonialism is an ongoing weapon, and we need to find ways to build mindfulness of our present participation and how to truly stand in solidarity with First Nations people and how to support their health, their growth, and self-governance.
Indigenous First Nations peoples are still here, and we continue to thank them for their contributions.
We are honored by your presence this evening. Afio Maya, Talamaia'ao.
Welcome to Talanoa.
Talafalava and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us today for today's Talanoa. Today, I have the deep honor of helping to discuss the upcoming annual Hoʻolauleʻa on August 12th, 2023, and we get to hear from the amazing team who helps to bring together our most anticipated event of the year. We get a sneak peek into this year's cultural presentation and production of Tausi, Weaving Ecosystems of Care. But before we begin, I'd like to recognize and honor the original occupants and stewards of the land where we are now together and gathering. Many of us are joining this meeting from lands that are the traditional homes of the Coast Salish people, the traditional home of all the tribes and bands within the Duwamish, Suquamish, Tulalip, and Muckleshoot nations. If you are interested in learning on who the original stewards are of the lands that you are currently on, you can do so by visiting native-land.ca. That's native-land.ca. We also pause to recognize and acknowledge the labor upon which our country, state, and institutions are built. We remember that our country is built on the labor of enslaved people who were kidnapped and brought to the U.S. from the African continent, and recognize the continued contribution of the survivors. We also acknowledge all immigrant labor, including voluntary, involuntary, trafficked, forced, and undocumented peoples who contributed to the building of this country and continue to serve within our labor force. We acknowledge all unpaid caregiving labor, and to the people who contributed this immeasurable work and their descendants, we acknowledge their indelible mark on the space in which we gather today. It is our collective responsibility to critically dissect and interrogate these histories, to repair harm, and to honor, protect, and sustain this land. You saw a short intro on what Talanoa is today, and so again, I'm just excited to bring together the amazing team that's gonna talk more about the hard work that's being put in to put together our amazing production, but also learn about the history of our Hoʻolauleʻa and the renaming. And so without further ado, I would love to invite my fellow Talanoa members up here to talk story with me on today's Talanoa. If you could please all introduce yourself, pronoun, and your title and job within Utopia Washington. And I can go ahead and start and model. Talafalava, everyone. My name is Brendan Fulmatu, pronoun friendly, and I'm the development manager for Utopia Washington. And I'm also the event manager for the Hoʻolauleʻa.
Talapalava, Malotse for Maholo Ingo, Ara Svenule Mahelaniando. Greetings and Talapalava. My name is Ara Svenule Mahelaniando. My pronouns are she, her, and I have the honor of serving as the MANA director or the cultural program director here at Utopia.
Talofalava Pulavina Malo Ilile Kiora Kiorana. Half a day. My name is Del Tunapofo, she, her pronouns, and I am honored to serve as the MANA program manager here at Utopia, Washington.
Hello, everyone. My name is Taimane Tuyaana. I use she and they pronouns, and I serve Utopia, Washington, proudly as one of the MANA program managers as well.
Salafalava and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tausi Vaina. I use she, her pronouns, and I am very honored to be serving at Utopia, Washington as the health clinic director for our Makumaya clinic.
Hi, Talofa everyone. Welcome. My name is Taffy. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as the executive director for Utopia, Washington.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to be here today and to talk story in Talanoa about the upcoming Hoʻolauleʻa. So this August, we're about to celebrate the 2023 Utopia Washington Hoʻolauleʻa that presents Tausi, Weaving Ecosystems of Care. For those of you in the audience who have been to our annual event before, you're more than familiar with it being our annual luau. But I'd like to ask our panel today if you could talk more about the shift from luau to Hoʻolauleʻa and the cultural importance of that shift and what brought it about. If anybody would like to take the reins and answer the question, and then we can talk story about it.
I think Taffy can touch on the history of luau and the Hoʻolauleʻa, but I will talk about the cultural shift that we've taken as a cultural program with MANA. So when we began forming the program MANA, which stands for Multicultural and Multi-Generational Approach to Navigating Ancestry, we thought about different ways that we could inform and educate community based on cultural values, cultural competency, and also finding ways to reconnect folks that are living in diaspora with their places of origin, specifically queer and trans-Pacific Islanders. And so in 2001, when we first started organizing these big productions, and that first production was called Vaka, we saw the interest and we saw the great need for folks to have a space made specifically for them to celebrate not only their identity as Pacific Islanders, but also their cultural gender identities as Wapafine, Waksalawewa, in the form of performing arts, in the arts, whether that be singing by way of dancing, music. And so our executive director, Taffy Maina Johnson, along with some amazing leaders that we have here on our executive team, and I have collaborated in saying, okay, this is the need that we see. This is what community is telling us what they want. And so from then on, we come up with the concept of having cultural programming shift into performing arts. And we see that this is where our community thrives. There is so much gifts, there are so much talents that rest and lie within this community, whether that be musically, whether that be in acting. We see the goods in-house, so to speak. And it is our job as the organizers of this organization and this community to put those goods to use. And so our cultural programming has taken a great shift from not only preparing and providing cultural competency by way of education and digital content, but also through the performing arts. And we've seen so much beauty in the talent that this community holds. And so I think we can elaborate more on that. But Taffy, if you would like to touch on the history of the shift from luau to Hoʻolauleʻa.
Yeah, thank you, Ara, so much for elaborating on that. So first, so Utopia has always been providing service for not only our LGBTQ Pacific Islander community, but all of our allies as well here in the Puget Sound region, as well as all of Washington for over the last 10 plus years. We've been providing advocacy, fostering self confidence, but also being able to be the hub for a lot of our communities that are here in diaspora. We've been able to hone in on the love and support and care and the guidance that is often missing in our lives as queer Pacifica Moana communities. And so when the luau started in 2010, um, it was not only a celebration, but it was also a way of us to gather community in this space where we were able to communicate with each other the needs and the resources. We're able to build power and empower community. But since then, a lot of that shift has changed to utilizing this platform that has grown exponentially to share our talents and our gifts, as Ara had spoke about it earlier. Um, a lot of our community aren't often provided that space where we can be able to really showcase our talents and our gifts, right? As Fafafine, as Samoan Fafafine and trans, oftentimes we're called to serve, right? And we're oftentimes in the background. Oftentimes we're only there to serve community, but oftentimes aren't in the platform where you can see us singing and dancing and drumming and acting. And the shift from having a luau, where often people, and even has been very um, corporate in in the sense of like appropriating culture and monopolizing our cultures in a way where it has been change and shift. We want to be able to not only celebrate ourselves, our identities, our cultures, and our heritage, but also celebrate us as an individual with all of what we have holistically. And so we decided to call our event something different. We didn't know what that was going to be. It was going to be either Fia Fia, some other names that came up was Po'ula, right? If you are Samoan, you're familiar with the term Po Fia Fia, Po Siwa. We wanted to make sure that the term encompasses a celebration or a festival that encompasses and covers all of us, all of our Pacifica, Moana, queer and trans Pacific Islanders here in diaspora. So I had a conversation with a sister and friend, Miss Kivale, and she was throwing around some terms and some words, and we settled on Ho'olauleʻa. Ho'olauleʻa is a Hawaiian word that means a celebration. And here at Utopia, Washington, Ho'olauleʻa is simply that. It's a celebration. We're celebrating culture and we're celebrating our heritage. We're celebrating cultural identities. And so here in this space, you get to watch our community perform cultural dancing, perform drumming, singing, live singing, acting, but also celebrating the beauty of our culture, our beauty that continues to grow here in diaspora. At Utopia, Ho'olauleʻa keeps us intact with our culture, right? You get to spend time with not only your loved ones, your family, your ainga, ohana, family, because that's what Utopia is. We're family, and this is a lot for a lot of us. It's our chosen family, and so most importantly, we get to really get to eat some really good food, and so that's all. That's what our culture is about, celebrating. And so you not only get to watch a lot of the group performances that has been directed, produced, choreographed by our people, Fa'afine, Mahu, Leiti, cultural, Pacific dancing, drumming, acting, And then most importantly, it's a space for us to have a good time, celebrate, right? And it's really important in so many ways. And one of those is that we're able to keep our culture alive. And that is the whole point of the transition from a luau to ho'olaule'a, is that we can be able to keep our family together, our ainga here together, and keep the culture alive, whether it's through singing and dancing, or through drumming or through acting. And we do all of that from our hearts with meaning about the culture. And we share a lot of that through the mana from our ancestors, from our elders, from our young ones, from all of our siblings, that as a collective, we're able to come together and celebrate everyone together in this space.
Thank you, Aran Tafi. Those are amazing answers to the question. I think it's important to, yeah, to speak about how, especially within the last three productions that I've been blessed to work with, it's an entirely Cutie Pie cast, an entirely Cutie Pie ensemble brought together by very, very talented individuals. Tafi, you talked about the exponential growth of this event and how it started in 2010. This will be the seventh annual celebration and fundraiser since it began. And I just wanted to ask, I know you guys spoke a bit about the history of our event. How has the Ho'olauleʻa progressed and grown over time? And have there been any major changes or shifts that you guys have noticed, especially from the very first luau to what is now our Ho'olauleʻa?
Yeah, a lot has changed. We've seen the visibility of our community. We've been able to not only continue to build power, mobilize our community, we've been able to involve not only our youth, but also our elders in a lot of the programming that we're doing. I just want to go back into the history of the luau, right? Because a lot of the people that has been there since the beginning in 2009, some of them are no longer with us. Some are, taking a break. We understand volunteer is really hard and heavy on people. And so our first luau, it was in May 2022 of 2010. This was held at the SeaTac Community Center. In that space, being new here to Washington, new here in the Pacific Northwest, we were slowly gathering communities. We were running into each other, people that we knew from back in the islands here that we didn't know have also migrated here. And so a couple of performances to highlight during that luau in 2010 was the PSA Club from Seattle Community College. And then, of course, our beautiful Utopia group, the Ladies of Utopia. Some of them are still here with us. Jovi, Kimmy, we have Seuli, Tiare, who is still here. We also have Desi, Bree, Fantasia. A lot of these girls were very active, and Keisha and Nina during the beginning of that time. Most of the time, we're always like pulling from our pockets to fund our activities, fund our services, fund the support that we give out to our community. And so the luau was our first fundraiser that we were able to put together to be able to fundraise all of our activities. And so because the love of culture, our love of our culture, we were able to host our first luau then. Our second luau was in 2018. So notice there was that big gap from 2010 to 2018. And that was because we were an all volunteer organization at the time. We also started our first beauty pageant in 2010, and that exploded. And so we continued the path of our beauty pageant, which at the time was Miss Utopia Seattle, later changed to Miss Utopia International, now known as Miss Island Goddess. And so a lot of changes throughout the years, and that is to accommodate community, the growth and the exponential growth of community, but also the expansion of the work that we do. And so in 2018, our A Journey Through Pacifica Luau was at the Lake Berrien Fellowship Hall in Berrien, and we had amazing entertainments that year from Halau Hula Olono It was Huraiti Mana Laufatamali'i dance group, Tifai Moana from Oakland at the time in California, and then also our own beautiful Utopia ladies that also serenaded during that event. We had an amazing and a powerful keynote speaker that year, our sister, Dr. Tatiana Kalaniopua Young from Hawaii. And so after 2018, 2019, we started promoting and organizing for our third annual luau, which was Embracing Pacifica in Us in SeaTac, and that was really great. I mean, we had the same dance groups, of course, the amazing performance by all of our community members. Our keynote speaker that year was Manu Malo. Ara Leando was our reigning queen that year, and she also did our keynote. I mean, our ask during that year, and it was just amazing. And then in 2020, while we were planning, COVID happened. And so our Celebrating Pacifica expressions had to transition into a virtual event. And so, because of the creativity of our community, we've called it In Luau, which, in lieu of a luau in person, we had a virtual event. And that was then changed to what's called Mixed Plate, and that was 4 days in that week, and that was overwhelming. Never doing that again, because it was 4 Fridays in the whole month of May that we were doing a virtual event. However, it was really amazing to see all of our different queer community members showcase, spoken word talent, singing. We had William Nutupu, Soleil Celestial, we had Del De La Renta, we had Isi, all these amazing artists that were able to perform during that time. And so, COVID happened. So we were trying to figure out, okay, what now? But, it was really hard times during that time. And then in 2021, that's when we came back. And that was the last time we had it as a luau. And that was Cultivating Pathways Together, Baka the Voyage. I don't know if people still fresh in their mind. That was when we had a full production of this 2 hour long performance, amazing performance. And that was one of where we started transitioning over to performing arts. That's when we started talking about what does this look like, elevating that into we're able to then have a storyline, which the amazing Ara Leando here has been working hard to not only write, produce, choreograph, with also the support of Del and Tepa and all the other ladies in the background who continue to elevate this work in our community. And so that year, come the next year, was Lenofo, which was just last year. And if you were in there, you can also tune in on YouTube because it's on YouTube. But just the amazing talent, hidden talent of our community that continue to be passed over, in society, because the first thing they see is like the exterior of somebody, and then first, you know, that's what they first come across, and then it's either continue to be a no, oftentimes, or we'll call you later for an opportunity. And so we often create these platforms so that we can be able to showcase that we're not just the person that's going to come and decorate your church. We're not just the fafafines who will come and serve your plates and cook the meal and do all these different back end services. We're also talented individuals with a lot of different skills in many different aspects. And so this year, we have an amazing show for you all. So Tausi, Weaving Ecosystems of Care, and I'll let Ara and Tepa and Del and Taimane here elaborate a little bit more on what that connection looks like. But I wanted to share with y'all the shift of change throughout the year from a very small luau at the SeaTac Community Center in 2010, where I believe the capacity was less than 200, I think 150 the most. And now we're like 700 to 1,000 people community who are able to come out and witness the beauty of our culture, the beauty of our community as Samoans, as Hawaiians, as Tonga, all of our different culture and our Fijian siblings that we're able to showcase on this platform, a level of platform. And one of the things that, we've realized throughout the years that it's such a great influence to a lot of different communities around the world because, with the power of technology, we're able to share this across the waters, across back into Moana, back into all parts of this world where Utopia Washington has been setting that bar and influencing community to really step out and be able to be visible and just be able to share and showcase their talent, share their stories with the world. And that's part of the work that we're doing is how do we build power within our communities and empower our folks to come out and be able to just, be proud and live authentically, right? And we're no longer going to be hiding in those shells and be put in a corner and be told to, like, speak when we tell you to. No, we're going to break all those barriers and be able to come out and tell you that we are here. We're not going anywhere. We have been part of this culture since the beginning, since time immemorial, and we're still in existence. And we have been not only the keepers of culture, we're also knowledge about all of the culture that we share amongst our communities across the ocean, across the Pacifica and Moana. And that's what we try to do here is encourage our brothers and sisters, our families, our siblings to be able to come out and showcase your culture, show your talent and all of who you are authentically. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That leads right into my next question really beautifully. And this is specifically for Tepa, Del, Aura, and Taimane. I think for those of us who get to see the planning process, it's a really beautiful experience because we not only have, especially this year, such a strong intergenerational representation in our production, but we also have one that is, again, all cutie pie for cast and ensemble, from the script writing to all of the production rehearsals. To our closing number, to our live performance songs. It's all brought together by our community. And so I wanted to ask about, like, I guess your personal opinion and your experience on that importance of representation and visibility. Specifically, Tepa, as the director for our Mapumai clinic and helping to oversee our Warriors of Wisdom and seeing them take that next step into our production. And then Taimane as well, seeing all of our youth continue to strongly be represented and represent themselves in our production. Like, what has that experience been like for you?
I can kick off this question for us, and then I hopefully the rest will add in to make it fuller. I think it's important to understand that as Pacific Islanders living in diaspora, it's easy for us to be disconnected from our cultures, and our cultures are a part of our identity. Like, they are part of what makes us feel whole, and when that's missing, there is a void in us. And when we think about like the songs and the dances, our movements and everything that we enjoy to do today, those are gifts from our ancestors, right? Like, our songs tell us a story of a time when we were not around, when we did not exist. And it tells a story of how our ancestors stewarded our community and our culture so that we can be here today. And so for us to be able to see it stand the test of time, and for us to still continue to practice those songs today and revitalize, like, there's a song that we're also singing this year that, like, I never knew that there's like alternative lyrics to it, and understanding the real meaning to the original lyrics of that song. Like, that is what makes it so beautiful. It's like, yes, we love to express ourselves through our performances, but also it's more than just performing for us, because we are also I guess that's the true meaning of alamai, right? To wake up, or to awake something, and like we are reawakening like a lot of things within ourselves and within our identities that we may start to forget or we have forgotten. I think with this year, like as Brandon mentioned, like we have our elders, our WOW participate, and Mane, who does the beautiful work of organizing. A lot of our youth are also participating. It's so beautiful to see such a multi-generational organizing in this year's production, and to be able to see all of us come together, um, to be able to put on a production, right? Our production, as Taffy mentioned, over the last couple of years, yes, the intention was always to throw a fundraiser, and celebrate who we are. But also at the same time, as creatives, we learn to use those opportunities to educate people. After all, it is our duty to share our cultures and who we are with the rest of the world. And I think we've done such a beautiful job, in doing that in the last couple of years, of using our production to tell the stories of who we are as queer and trans Pacific Islanders, tell people about what we face on a daily, tell people about how we navigate life. And every year, I feel like there is a new aspect that we're exploring. And those are the stories that, as long as we're educating people and telling people about, we are normalizing our experiences, our existences one day at a time. And as we continue to do that, we hope that that will shift culture and shift the world so that they can understand that we are also here, we will always be here, and that this is who we are.
Yeah, I would want to piggyback off of what Teba was talking about. As someone who has been born and raised here in diaspora, South Seattle specifically, it's so refreshing to see all of our youth being involved in this work, and a platform for them to actually elevate themselves as not only Pacific Islanders, but in their queer identities as Pacific Islanders. And so we don't really get to see that often, right? There wasn't a platform for us to exist in our multifacets of identities. And so Utopia has done a brilliant job, with really bridging the gap and helping our queer babies celebrate who they are culturally, but also empower them in their identities as fa'afafine, vakasale, walewa, takata, pui, mahu, or whatever they identify with. And watching them come into practice every day and seeing them be really excited about performing. And then that day when they hit the stage, it's so refreshing to see the joy that lights up in their face, and to see their families in the audience just see the safety net that Utopia has created for them so that they can blossom as individuals. And so I'm very thankful that Utopia is doing this work, because there's not a table out there that was created to cater to us, right? Utopia decided to make its own table and to have our stories told in this platform. And just seeing the elders interact with our youth and learn those, not just the production piece itself, but the cultural value piece, right? Just like Tepa talked about, those songs, those old songs we hear about, and RLA does a beautiful job of just breaking down the true meanings and histories behind those musics. And then seeing the kids connect to their culture for the very first time. Because a lot of the times growing up here in diaspora, um, it's hard to find our place in a culture as Pacific Islanders if we don't have the language and we don't really understand the culture. But then you add in our queer and trans identities, and how do we fit that in, right? And so this production is doing so much more than just learning the entertainment piece and learning, our lines. It's actually celebrating our kids for who they are, and our elders for who they are, and our community for who we are. And so I think it's doing more than just bringing that entertainment piece. It's really saving kids' lives. It's empowering them to make a difference in their communities, and it's giving them a platform to be visible and to be proud of who they are and celebrated for who they are.
Thank you for that, Tapatasi and Taimane. Those are beautiful answers. And I also like, so both of you as well are also performing, and so I wanted to ask, and this is a question for everyone. You know, with everything that we're doing, can you talk about, I guess, not only the planning process of the event, but I guess your experience as either a performer or director or a fundraiser or a teacher in this production, and what that's been like. I know that Tepa and Ara have worked really hard on an amazing script, and I see Del reining in every one of the practices and making sure that our practices are on point and everything is getting done. And Taffy is working really hard behind the scenes to get a lot of our partners to show their support and show the recognition of all of our hard work and just to be in celebration with us. And so I just wanted to ask, like, what's the process been like for you, especially this year? I am not performing like I was last year, and so I just would love to get your perspectives, and I'm sure the audience would love to get an inside scoop as to what they don't see in the preparation process.
I can kick us off if that's okay. Thank you, Brandon. A lot of people have been giving this, this pressure and saying that, oh, you've been writing this. I want to inform people that yes, the four of us have become the hands in writing the actual physical script, but this script was inspired and was basically written by the stories of community, right? It's the lived experiences of our community. It's the actual lives and that they live day to day that we're just transcribing onto paper and bringing to life through production. And so this whole process has been, I'd be lying if I'd say it wasn't a roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster, right? Because you write, you cry while you're writing, you talk amongst your colleagues and say, this is a really great way to approach this, and then something else comes and it's like, oh no, maybe we can switch it over to this way, and it's just been really creative, for the lack of better words, and which is the life of creative people, right? And I want to say that in reference to the first question, one of the things that I wanted to hone in on, why representation and visibility is very important, specifically in the area of culture. It's very rare that we have queer and trans Pacific Islanders at the center of cultural work. It's very rare. It's unheard of sometimes. It's not unheard of, but it's very rare that you see them at the forefront and at the center of cultural work. And so the reason why it's very important for us to hone in on the fact that this entire cast, from the writing to the dancing to the acting, is queer and trans by and for, is because that's never been done before. You've never had an entire cast of queer and trans Pacific Islanders. And I'm so proud to say that Utopia Washington, for the past 3 years, has had a full cast of nothing but trans and gender diverse folks and queer folks that put on an amazing production, such as taking you on a journey of the Pacific, introducing to you the different gender cultural identities that exist in the Pacific through Vaka the Voyage from Lenofo, encouraging folks to trust the leadership of queer and trans Pacific Islanders. And this year, we wanted to hone in on such a common theme amongst not just being Pacific Islander or Samoan, but a common theme amongst the queer community or the trans and queer community, specifically the Fa'afafine community, the Hoʻolauleʻa community, and that is care, and that is Tausi. We show up in different areas and different facets in our lives and in our communities, whether that be cooking, caring for our elderly, caring for our children, being educators, both in the academic world and at home. We've just been the hands and feet of our families, but we've never been a community to ever speak it or vocalize it, because the humility and the modesty keeps us from doing so. It is 2023, and I think these stories need to be let out, because if we don't let these stories out, No one will. And so, Tausi, last year we did Lenofo. Lenofo was a love letter to our Fafafina community. Um, this year, Tausi, Weaving Ecosystems of Care, is our letter of gratitude to our community. Fafafine, Wakasalewalewa Mahu, for the way that you care for not just your families, but the entire community. And so, if you haven't bought a ticket, I really encourage you to please purchase a ticket. You're in for a treat this year, not because we wrote it or not because we're putting it on. It's because there are lived experiences that you need to know about that are in this production. And so, in saying so, I just want to say that this process, yes, it's been a roller coaster. Yes, it's been hectic, but it's been the only reason why it's been bearable is because we have each other, right? We draw from each other's mana. We draw off of each other's mauli, off of each other's power. And it's, in fact, been a very empowering experience for me. Um, in moments where you feel weak, you feel, like you've reached the end of your energy, you get to practice and you see tons of community members just eager to be there, just so happy to be a part of something great. And that's what pushes you forward. That's what pushes you to do this work, right? Because there are people that are depending on you and you depending on those people to bring these stories to life. And um, yes, performing arts and cultural work is exhausting. Yes, it's very taxing, and Pacific Islander people are very critical when it comes to cultural work. But I will say, at the end of the day, it's very fulfilling when you see people satisfied and comfortable in who they are, embracing not only their gender and cultural identities as Fafafine, but also just being Pacific Islander and just being who they are, and getting that connection. Specifically for folks that were raised and born here in diaspora, to get that connection, I'd say is the biggest goal and the goal met and result that I'm so happy about, right? I've done my work, if that's how people feel or how people have expressed themselves. And so it's through these stories and through these productions like Tausi that we get to make those connections even greater with the greater community that attend.
I'd like to add on to the question. When we talk about
You're on mute, Del.
the
Dal,
struggles
you're on
of,
mute, sister.
or
Yeah,
the,
you're on mute.
or am I? Can you guys hear me
Sorry,
now?
Dad, we can't hear you. You're on mute, Mama.
Can you hear me now?
You are on mute.
You're on mute. Unmute her, Mama.
You may speak.
Can you hear me now?
Acknowledge.
Acknowledge. So I like to add on to the conversation. When we, I'm coming in as one of the instructors, and how it is, not a challenging, but also an experience that we face every day when during the process of planning and all of this. So I like to begin with the planning process when we first started in April. As Ara did speak upon, it was a whole collective thing with community. When we had workshops, we sat down with community, we invited community to come in, and then we started off with what should be a theme. And the theme came on to caring, and then everybody started pouring out, and the stories. And I tell you, if you were in those workshops and you sat in those spaces where all these communities came in, they eventually wrote their stories on big posted papers, and then they started to tell the stories, and at the same time we were telling stories, we were also crying. It was very emotional because these are our lived experiences. These are things that we have lived in the past, and I can honestly say that I might too myself is sometimes we get traumatized with our past lived experiences and we want to tell them. And I am so grateful for this year's show and the production that we're putting on, because it is letting off that whole burden off of our community through the plays and the production that we're giving out. And am I going to say if is it a smooth um, journey? It's not. It's rough. It's tough. But at the same time, everybody comes. Every day we have these practices. I'm. It fills my heart to see that no matter what the ups and downs are, they still come. This is how community has heart for each other, especially our community, because we all want to come in together. And when we started to put the show together, and the storyline went out to our cast and to our whole alumni program, then everybody came back and said, "Now we get it. Now we see it. These are our stories." And that's the beauty of the practices. I set aside all of the challenges that we have with behaviors and all of those attitudes we have. And then when I hear them say, it touched my heart. Some people, they come in, they sit and practice, and then when the show goes on, when we're practicing, they cry, because it's what they have been, they went through. So yeah, that's my share with the journey that we're going through. And yeah, I encourage our community to please buy a ticket. You don't want to miss out on this show. There's going to be live music, and the music and routines are so beautiful. So mhm.
I know that my computer is making a very weird sound. Can you still hear it? Can you hear me fine now? Okay, then we're good. I wanted to add on to what Ara was sharing earlier. Um, so, for me personally, my everyday job is here at the clinic. And so, Taimane, Ara, Del, Lima, and Mil are the ones who are on a daily doing this work. Um, I, on the other hand, I'm always drawn to our culture work, and that's why I'm there to lend my support whenever or wherever it's needed. But also, while it may seem like it's a lot of work, and it can be a lot of work, and it can be tiring, you will see us be exhausted, but there is such a fulfilling feeling that comes with us doing this. It's difficult, but it just makes us feel whole when we are able to perform. We get tired, but when you see our community on that stage that night, and as we have seen in the past years, you will truly see that they are so happy doing this. And I guess that's part of what keeps us going because um, they love to express themselves and they express themselves through their culture, and it makes them feel exactly who they were meant to feel. In regards to this year's theme, um, when Ara and I, when she first invited me to sit down and have a conversation with her, definitely it was difficult. But what's not difficult is we didn't have to come up with a storyline on our own. Our work has been compiling the stories that belong to so many people um, in our community who are Papakino, who are Pakasalero, who are Mahu or Lady. Um, I shared this with our cast the other day. When I think about the main character this year, Solia, and the role that she plays in her family, um, and you look into our own communities, there are dime a dozen. I don't know anyone who doesn't know a Papakino who has not seen that in each family. And I personally have grown up to be able to see so many Papakino in so many different families play that role quietly and just answer with a smile. And it's not that we don't want to fulfill that role, but when we think about the concept of unsung heroes, sheroes, um, These are the people that come to mind, are people who are always providing that care regardless of what's going on in their own life, even when nobody else is thinking about what they want or the needs that they have. But I think that's the important aspects that we want to bring with Tausi is that we love to provide care for our family. We have always been known as and we would love to continue that as long as we are not deprived of everything else that we deserve and also need. And I think that that's such an important message that normalizes that if everyone else feels the need to fulfill all of the other aspirations that they have in their lives, then so do Papakini, Makasalewalewa, Leiti, Mahu, and all of the people who are identified within our community, and that we deserve all of those beautiful things and we deserve to live full lives too. So we are excited to present this year's production. Being a part of it and being a performer too brings me joy, and so that's why I will always be a part of that. But we are excited to bring it to you, and we hope to share in a beautiful night of community and a beautiful night of learning together and unlearning together, and hopefully that you buy a ticket and join us for our Hoʻolauleʻa on August 12th.
I think for me, the one thing I just wanted to add is just the theme is Tausi, but you very much see this theme implemented in everyday practice during our whole preparation part, right? We have our whole staff here that takes and volunteers their time out of their busy schedules to also make lunch and dinner for all of our people who are practicing tirelessly. We have people dropping off, community members picking up community members, and then even the community members. I even hear some of them saying, "I have to start work at 1 o'clock a.m. and we just got off of practice around 10." Right? It's just the tireless efforts of our community coming in together and taking care of one another. That's one thing that I've always taken away every single practice that I attend, just seeing everyone lifting each other up, especially when we're tired and exhausted, and really honing in on that very word tausi, and really taking care of one another, especially when we are unable to lift our own loads. And so, I just want to commend everyone here for their efforts, and then also our community, our beautiful community shows up every year, and then even our staff who help. It's not just a Mana thing, but this is a Utopia production, right? And we all lend a helping hand. And I see our staff in the kitchen cleaning up, helping sew costumes with our seamstress. And I just wanted to say and acknowledge that we all see you and we love you, and we are here to throw an amazing show. So if you didn't get your tickets, you better get it because it's almost sold out.
Speaking of sold out, so that's part of my role in this, is the fundraising aspect of this. So, I'm not going to say that this has been easy. It has been challenging in every year, but I can tell you one thing is that I have such an amazing team that makes my job a lot more easier. Brandon has been very instrumental in making sure that a lot of those relationships have been strengthened in a way where we continue to see the same sponsors every year, right? We have been working on a relationship with a lot of not only our funders, but our donors, but our community who continue to show up in many different ways, whether through providing food, whether through providing transportation, whether through just providing love and care, and being able to be there when there's a lot of stress and pressure on us. And so there's so much that goes on into the whole preparation of this performance. And so looking in from the outside, like beautiful and whatever. But of course, like any other show, like any other performance, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background, and that does not happen by one person. This is a collective effort between all of us here at Utopia, all 26 of our team, including all of our community who continue to work tirelessly and volunteer day and night to come here, prepare costumes, prepare workshops, prepare singing and dancing, and also put up with my yelling. I'm not going to lie. I'm sure people are familiar that, there's that part of me in there. And so it has been an experience, right? What was that? Not from a place of love, from a place of Tausi. But yeah, all in all, I think our team has been very, very amazing. Every year we put this performance together. We're able to share our stories, right? Our own lived experiences that comes from us. We no longer want, the white narrative to portray what people think of us, but we'll share our stories on how we have been living authentically. And so I encourage you all, if you have not bought a ticket, we're literally almost sold out. I think after going through numbers yesterday, we have just a few more, maybe 3 or 4 more tables left. So if you have not bought a ticket or a table, do so. I don't want you to, be stressed out not buying a ticket. Come and share amazing food. There's going to be a lot of really great island food that we'll be sharing. We will also have a lot of amazing community leaders there. This is our space, right? This event is created for us, not only to celebrate, but we can also have nice things. We can also have fancy things and be able to celebrate our culture in a nice way where we can be able to show up in our beautiful island fashion. And we also have our amazing fashion designers that we want to shout out in those spaces. So yes, if you have not bought a ticket, do so as soon as possible. Let us know how we can help you with how to spend your money. We can go through it. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, thanks to everyone for your continued support year after year for the work of Utopia.
Thank you so much, everyone. I believe that is time. But before I close out, does anyone have any closing words for our audience today?
Buy a ticket.
Brandon, I just wanted to hone in on. I don't want to be like too deep, but I just want to say that when we think of care, right, specifically within the Fa'afafine community, because that's my lived experience and that's how I would address. There's so much beauty within this community that people don't get to see. And as Mane was mentioning, as we're preparing this production, you see how we care for each other, right? But one of the things that I wanted to hone in on is that we continue to care for people, but also we care for each other, even in death. Even in death, we care for each other, and and that's very evident in the way we show up and show out for our loved ones who have passed, or for people that are in need. And we continue to do so because that's who we are. That's who our ancestors. That's what our ancestors have embedded in us, and we continue to pass that on. And so, to our Fa'afafine Hoʻolauleʻa Mahu community all out there, queer and trans Pacific Islanders, thank you. Thank you very much for caring for your families. Thank you for continuing to care for your island nations, your villages, your churches. Thank you for showing up even when people are shutting you out. Thank you for your bravery. Fa'aftai le tausi ainga, fa'aftai le tausi utua, fa'aftai le tausi nu'u. And this production that we're about to do on the 12th of August is solely dedicated to you as a letter of gratitude for all your support you've given throughout the years, your unspoken support. Time. Thank you.
I also like to just give a few words to when we talk about care to add on what Ara said. I think about our community when we drop everything and we care for our family. There was a point in my life where I dropped most of everything just to care for my family, and then I found myself stuck. And then I talk on that I know there's someone out there that is in the same struggle that I went through, and I want to let them know that you're not alone. We're here. We're here to tell your story. And we hope that this show and this production would um, shine a light on our community and onto our families, so that we're telling our truth and our stories. So hang in there. Better days are coming, and keep caring and do what you do best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I do want to thank again all of our audience members who are watching from wherever you are. If you are able to be here on the 12th, again, like everyone has said, you do not want to miss out on the hottest show in the Pacific Northwest, brought to you by Queer and Trans Pacific Islanders. Again, as development manager for Utopia Washington, I'd be remiss to say that this is a fundraiser that helps to bring support and much needed funds to help continue the work that we're doing, the frontline work that we're doing to provide resources and support for not only our queer and trans Pacific Islanders, but all of our LGBTQ plus community here in the Pacific Northwest. And as you've heard from my amazing panelists, this is not just a fundraiser. It is an action of visibility and representation for all of our community members. It is a letter of love, a letter of support, a letter of thanks. And it's a way for all of us to come together and just empower our community and let us all know that we're here for each other. Again, I want to thank my amazing panelists, my Utopia family, my aunties and mothers who took the time out today to help tell really the story of Hoʻolauleʻa and where we do this amazing work every year. And I want to thank our audience for taking the time to listen. If you are not able to be with us on the 12th, please share the Talanoa. I'm sure there are a lot of individuals who would love to hear what was just spoken about today by these amazing folks. And again, just thank you everyone for your time. From Utopia Washington, from my family, from everyone here, we are grateful for all of your support, for your recognition of our work and this community that we support. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And if you have any questions or any interest in the Hoʻolauleʻa, you can reach us at www.utopiawa.org/Hoʻolauleʻa. You can also email us at mail@utopiawa.org or hoʻolauleʻa@utopiawa.org. And that's Hoʻolauleʻa without any of the okinas. It's just Hoʻolauleʻa, one word. But yeah, thank you all so very much. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Ara, that was a great conversation.
A great Talanoa and conversation indeed.
Yes. We'd like to thank our panelists for taking time to have this important conversation and for sharing their brilliance with us.
A special thank you to you, our viewers, for tuning in. We thank you for your support. We hope to see you at our next Talanoa.
Manuia.